Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wa salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Indeed, all praise be to Allah. And peace and blessings on Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And inshallah, we'll continue with not the other half, but just part 2, because I think we're gonna have about maybe like 10 parts. If I want to give this subject justice. Last month, for those who are new here, well, I've done this one. We spoke about the lineage of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we had everyone at the edge of the seats, and we stopped just before his birth. And I don't want to disappoint, but still we won't reach the birth of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Because again, like I said, in order to give this topic justice, we need to understand everything that the Seerah books talk about. We don't want to skip a chapter. And again, I want to remind you all that the reason why studying Seerah is important is because in our time, it is just as important as learning other types of fiqh and types of worship of Allah, because we have Muslims straying away from and not understanding the way of how a Muslim should live. So we look at the life of Prophet Muhammad as this example. Also, just to remind everyone, there are a lot of things that are said about Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and I want to keep a certain degree for this Seerah series, and I want to rely heavily on the most authentic things I can find. And one main book that I've been using is the Seerah of Ibn Kathir. Well, it's a book, like I mentioned this before, it's from the book Bidayah wa Nihaya that Ibn Kathir wrote, the beginning and the end, and in it has a section, a biography of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now this lecture today, if you all will hear me at the time, this lecture today will focus now on the religions around at the time of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now the first religion, as we spoke about Prophet Ibrahim and his son and so on, and they all had the true religion at the beginning. But later on it became corrupted. So understanding what was going on at the type of religions around Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they will give us a better understanding of what he was faced with. I have lots of papers. So it'll give us a better understanding of what the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he had to face it, the surroundings that he had to deal with. In the time of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there were 3 main religions. 3. Judaism, Christianity, and idol worship, polytheism. Now, how did polytheism come in? How was it introduced? When Ibrahim alayhi salam, he was the one who taught Tawheed from the beginning, the oneness of Allah, and worship one God. And now, at this point, when Prophet Muhammad is born, there is idol worship. It goes back to a man named Amr ibn Luhay al-Khuzai. Now, if you remember, we spoke about it in the last lecture. Right? He was one of the leaders of the tribe of Khuzai. He went to Sham, where Sham is what they call, sometimes they call it Syria or Levant. It is the Palestinian region, Syria, Jordan, all that area over there is called the Sham. So he went to Sham, Amr ibn Luhay al-Khuzai. And he finds the people engaged in worshiping of idols, or they have these idols, these statues. And he asks them, what is this? What are these things you have here? And what they told him, they said, these are intermediates for us, between us and Allah. We speak to these idols and they convey the message to Allah, and we have different ones for love and for war and for food. He thought it was an amazing idea. Right? This new innovation. He thought it was an incredible idea. And what he did, he asked them, well, I want to take one back to Mecca. So they gave him a nice big one. And the name of his idol was Hubal. Right? So when he went to Mecca, now Amr ibn Luhay al-Khuzai, he is considered to be a well-respected leader in Quraysh or in Mecca. And so no one really asked questions. because he's a leader introducing this amongst them. So he told them in Mecca that we will use these idols to intercede to Allah for us, and this innovation was accepted amongst them. Again, why? Because Abdul Hayy, he was a well-respected man amongst them, so people didn't ask questions. Now, idol worship eventually became a big business now in Mecca, because you got tribes coming from all over Arabia, and now it became a business because this is the center of worship, and you could start selling idols. They got to a point where people started to make, instead of coming all the way to Mecca to worship this idol for whatever ailment or problem you had, they started to make portable idols, like portable phones. Right? And now they can take it, they put it in their pocket, put it in their bag, and go with it. This is how the innovation started to increase. And they got to a level of shirk. And eventually, Islam is what exited them from the fold of Islam, the fold of the religion of Ibrahim alayhi salam. Now, it makes you think of the story of Umar ibn Khattab. The time when he was seen crying and then laughing. And someone asked, why are you crying and not laughing? What's that about? Umar ibn Khattab, this story he tells it. He says, I remember one time I was out in the desert. This is the time before Islam. I was out in the desert and I wanted to pray, but I forgot my idol at home. I forgot my idol at home. So what did I do? I had some dates and I mashed them all together and I made a form of an idol and I prayed to it. So that's why Umar ibn Khattab was crying, because of that state, such a starry state. You were worshiping this date, and you're supposed to be worshiping Allah. But remember, you start to laugh. Why did he start laughing? Because he said later on that night he became hungry and he ate the idol. Right? SubhanAllah, look at the life of Umar ibn Khattab. How far he came. Look at what he was doing. And in Jahiliyyah, before Islam, he was a person that was a heavy drinker of alcohol. And these are the kind of acts he was doing. Now, without Islam, where would he have been? Where would we be without Islam? Islam took him from that state to becoming the king of the Muslims one day, the leader of the believers. He's the second Khalifa. And he's one of the greatest men in history. So now in Mecca, you have a big export in idols. It's a big business now. And the Kaaba at this point is polluted with idols. There's many idols surrounding the Kaaba, and shirk is in every direction. The Prophet Muhammad said in the hadith, I saw Amr ibn Luhay al-Khuzai dragging his intestines, trying to pull them back into his stomach in the hellfire. Because he was the first person to change the religion of Ibrahim, the religion of the Arabs. Amr ibn Luhay al-Khuzai. Now what about the Jewish faith and Christianity? The king of Yemen, his name was Ta'ban al-Asad. And once he traveled to Sham, again from Sham we spoke about, to do business. And on his way he passed Yathrib. Now we're not supposed to use the term Yathrib, okay? I only use it as a historical reference because in that time it was called Yathrib. But the Prophet forbade us from calling Yathrib, and we're supposed to call it Medina. So he traveled on his way and he stopped off in Medina and he left the sun there. And he continued to go. He just left the sun there. I'm going to come back for you. And he went to continue to Sham to do business. While he was gone, the people of Medina, for some reason, something happened and they killed him. They killed this prince, the king's son, from Yemen, right? So, when Ta'ban al-Asad found this out, he was furious. And he set out with a powerful army to what? Destroy Medina. He's going to destroy Medina because they killed his son. At the moment when he's about to enter Medina, he has his army outside the city. Two Jewish rabbis came out to Medina to speak with him. Jewish rabbis, not where the Jews come from. The Jews ended up in Medina in the first place when the Romans invaded Sham, the same Jerusalem area. And they invaded Jerusalem. And the Jewish people, they fled. And they went in all directions. And some of them they wanted to go to the lands where in their books talk about the next prophet to come. They have a description of these lands, what it looks like and everything. And from those places that had that description was Medina and Khaybar and some other places. So that's how these Jews ended up in Medina. They weren't Jewish by conversion. They were ethnic Jews. Like they were actually Jews by blood from Bani Israel. The three Jewish tribes that settled in Medina were Bani Qaynuqa, Bani Qurayza, and Bani Nadir. These are the three Jewish tribes of Medina. And they were all ethnically Jewish. They have their roots, their lineage goes back to Bani Israel. They haven't converted. So these rabbis, they came out to meet the mighty army of Ta'ban al-Asad, about to invade Medina. What's the time? Just want to check. And they were able to convince Ta'ban al-Asad to not invade the city. And they told him that how this city is sacred, it's holy, and whatever da'wah that they gave him, not only did he not invade the city now, but they convinced him, they convinced him that the Jewish religion, right, the Judaism was the truth. That was true. And he was so convinced that he ended up converting to Judaism. And he invited these rabbis to come along with him now, as his religious advisors and so on. And Ta'ban al-Asad took them all the way to Yemen. Now on the way south, there was also, this is kind of detailed, but there was a fitna, there was a problem arising between this king and the people in Mecca. And what ended up happening, he wanted to invade Mecca also, Ta'ban al-Asad. And but the Jewish rabbis told him, you can't invade Mecca, because this is a holy place also. I mean, they know these things. They have these things in their books, right? And so they told him, rather, what you should do, you should go in there and you should make tawaf around the Kaaba. That's what you should do. So he said, okay, let's go. Let's all go together. These Jewish rabbis, these Jewish scholars, they said, no, we can't go in there. Because we are scholars, we are leaders in our Jewish community. It is not suitable for us to go to the Kaaba while there are idols around it. Because there shouldn't be these asnam, these idols around it. Right? So it's not suitable for us to be there. So Ta'ban al-Asad, he went ahead and he did this, and he is the first person, because he's a mighty king coming in, and he's the first person to clothe the Kaaba, put a cloth over the Kaaba. And at one point they used to do it so often, every year they would add one. They would never remove the cloth from the Kaaba. They would always put one on top until it became very heavy. And when they thought about it, they said it might crush the bricks and so on. So they started removing one and putting on one, not piling it up. Now, Ta'ban al-Asad, eventually they went to Yemen. So when they got to Yemen, he gave them the freedom to go to Judaism. And many tribes in Yemen converted to Judaism. They became Jewish. So now there are two types of Jews in Arabia. You have the ethnic Jews, and you have Jews, the Jewish people by conversion. Now what about Christianity? Christianity spread all over after Isa alayhi salam. The Christians, they dispersed in all directions. And they were divided into sects very early on. Different groups with different beliefs. And they became corrupted very quickly. But there were pockets of Christians who remained on the true faith. There were small amounts of them who remained on the true religion. And one of these men, he made it to Yemen. A Christian who was on the true faith of Jesus alayhi salam, Isa alayhi salam. And what he did in Yemen, he started to make da'wah, right? Call to the true religion of Christianity, the true religion of Isa alayhi salam. And he did it in secret, privately. At this time, Ta'ban al-Asad had already died. At this point, there are many Jews there. Ta'ban al-Asad has died, and his son is ruling. His son is known, his name is known as Dhu Nawas. Dhu Nawas, he's the new king now. Dhu Nawas. Now news of this new religion reached the king through Noah's, because he's Jewish and everyone's Jewish. And he banned the religion. He banned Christianity. And he prosecuted the followers. People were tortured and killed if they were Christians. Now there's a famous story that I'm sure some of you, probably all of you, or most of you know. And it's related in hadith in Sahih Muslim of the hadith of the king and the young boy. The king and the young boy. Many scholars attribute this story to the Nawas and the Christians of Yemen. Right? That story. Now, I'll mention the story. The king, the Nawas, he used to deal with magic. And he had a sorcerer as an advisor. The sorcerer was getting old, so he told the king that he needs to train someone else. He needs a new apprentice. So they went out and they looked for a young, intelligent boy. And they looked and they handpicked a boy to become the new apprentice to overtake for the sorcerer, to be the new sorcerer. So they found this young boy and he began studying with the sorcerer. And he would have to leave early in the day and come home late in the evening. Now one day the boy, on his way to the sorcerer, he heard different words of worship. Different prayers he heard. And he went to go check it out, and what did he find? He found a secret church called Tawheed. It was this Christian priest, right? Called to the true religion of ASJA, the true religion of Jesus. The boy was very impressed with what he heard, and he wanted to learn more. So he explained his position, that he is an apprentice to the sorcerer, but he wants to learn this. And he asked the priest, what can I do? So he said, on your way to the sorcerer, stop here, and I can teach you something. We will go late, but if the sorcerer asks you where you've been, just say that your parents held you back. And on your way home, when you're leaving the sorcerer, stop in, I'll teach you something, and then go home. If your parents ask you anything, just say the sorcerer held you back. Now one day, many days passed by, and one day, some beasts entered the marketplace. And everybody is scurrying, running away and fleeing, and there are people trying to kill these beasts, and they can't. They can't do it. So this boy, at this moment, he said, "Oh Allah, if the path of the priest is true, then kill this animal." And he took up a rock, and he threw it, and killed the animal instantly. He went back and reported this to the priest, what had happened. He made this dua, and he threw the rock, and this would happen. The priest told him that he has reached a high level of Iman, and that now he will be seriously tested. And we know this in the Quran, and Allah will test you. There are verses, and the Prophet talks about it, that the ones who are faced with the hardest tests are the prophets. So those who are the most pious in level, they will be faced with the hardest tests. And the priest is warning him, he is telling him this. You're going to be faced with serious tests now. When we think of exams, right? There are some teachers, they put some easy questions, they put general questions, they put hard questions. Because they want to distinguish the more intelligent or the smarter students, right? You give them harder questions, right? Our whole life is a test. Now, there was a blind associate to the king. A blind associate to the king who needed healing. So what did he used to do? In the past, they would send him to the sorcerer. Who's the sorcerer now? It's this young boy who has his Christianity faith, or the true faith of Jesus is hidden, right? So they send him to the young boy. So the boy tells the man, "I cannot heal you, but Allah can heal you." And he heals the man, right? The man, the associate of the king, his friend, right? The friend of the king, he goes back to the king, and the king says, "Who healed you?" And the man replied, "Allah. Allah healed me." The king said, "Do you have a God other than me?" He said, "Yes, my Lord and your Lord." What did the king do to his friend then? The king asked him, "Who taught you this?" The man wouldn't say, because he knows what it means now. So the king tortured him. This is his friend. He tortures him and tortures him to the point point where he can't bear it anymore, and it reveals the name of the boy. Now, one thing I forgot to mention earlier when the boy was going to start learning into the priest gave him one condition. He told the boy, if you're going to learn with me, you can't reveal my name. Don't ever reveal my name. It's not that he was a coward, but it's because he wants to protect the da'wah. He wants to protect the da'wah, right? He called to Tawheed. So the king gets the boy, right? And he asks him, who taught you this? The boy refuses to say. The king tortures him, and tortures him becomes unbearable. That the boy gives in, and he gives up the name of the priest. The king brings in the priest. And the king says, you have to leave your religion. I command you to leave your religion. Right? The priest refuses. I'm not going to leave my religion. My Lord is Allah. And the king orders the soldiers to beat him and torture him, and the priest refuses to leave the religion. The king then brings a saw, a large saw, places it above the head of the priest, and continuously asks him to leave the religion when he refuses. And they begin to saw from his head, going all the way down until they cut him into 2 pieces. When you think of these stories, there's so many stories like this in the Quran. I think of the story of ASJA, and I know I gave that clip before. The wife of Pharaoh, the type of torture that she endured, you know. And Allah says in the Quran, يُثَبِّتُ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا بِالثَّابِتِ فِي الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ. And Allah makes firm those who believe. He makes them firm upon the truth in the dunya and in the akhirah. Those who truly believe, people like them, people like this priest, people like ASJA, people like some of the companions who faced these trials and tests, yet they stood firm, even until their death. Now the focus is back on the boy, because he's the one left. The king ordered the soldiers to throw the boy off a high cliff. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was performing karamats through this boy. That's some people will loosely translate as a miracle, but prophets also have miracles. In Arabic, there's a differentiation where a karama is done by a non-prophet, a prophet does a mu'jiza, right? Now, this boy, there was karama, there were some miracles that Allah was performing through this boy. He went up to a high cliff, and the boy said, ask Allah, أَكْفِيهُ بِمَا شِئْتَ. Do whatever you want to them. Take care of them with whatever you want. And the mountain shook, and the soldiers, they fell off the mountain except the boy. What does the boy do? Does he run away? He's on the truth. He wants to make a point. He goes back to the king, and he goes, here I am. And the king, he gets soldiers together again, and he says, all right, take him off to a ship, and dump him in the ocean. And the boy makes the same dua again, asking Allah to deal with them. And the ship flips over, it capsizes, and they all drown except the boy. And the boy comes back to the king, here I am again. Now, the king, right away, he has soldiers ready to, I guess this king, how he is, he just wants to, he doesn't care about the lives of the soldiers, he's ready to send them off again, and the boy stops him. And he tells him, you can't kill me unless you do what I tell you to do. So he says, okay, what is it? He says, tie me to a tree, bring everyone around, and say, in the name of the Lord of the boy, and then shoot him with an arrow. Okay, so the king gathered everyone, and he did this. First he pulled the arrow, and he missed the boy. He didn't say it. He didn't say the name of the Lord of the boy, right? And he missed the boy. The second time he pulled the arrow, and he said it. In the name of the Lord of the boy, he shot the arrow, and he hit the boy straight in the head. And he died instantly. Now the boy died, right? What do you think happened? The crowd that was around, they all believed in the Lord of the boy. And they all went away as Christians. And the advisors told the king, what happened right now is exactly what you didn't want to happen. So what happened now is the famous story, right? That's in Surah Al-Buruj, right? where the king ordered a trench to be dug, and they filled it with wood, and they lit the fire ablaze. Anyone who was not following his religion, the king's religion, and they disobeyed him, they were thrown into this fiery pit. And crowds of people were thrown into it. Crowds of them. And from amongst them was a woman, actually. And this is a famous story also. She was walking the plank, you could say, and about to go into the fire. And she hesitated. And this is one of the instances where the Prophet said that a child spoke. She was holding her child, and the child told her that to be patient, that you are on the right path. What you're doing, you're guided what you're doing. And then the mother runs. Now what's interesting, in Surah Al-Buruj, imagine all these people died, they burnt in this fiery pit. Who seems to be victorious? The king. He burnt everyone alive, now it's just him, and he dealt with the situation. But in Surah Al-Buruj, Allah refers to these people as the ones who were victorious. The ones who were victorious. It's not about this world, brothers and sisters. It's about attaining Jannah. Those are the ones who have the last laugh. Those are the ones who are truly victorious and successful. They never gave up. And what is victory? Victory is only Jannah. Now there was one person who survived this ordeal. Right? And what did he do? He fled to the Romans. The Romans were the Catholic Romans, and they were Christians at that time. And he complained to them, and he told them what happened. This cruel act that the Jewish king of Yemen did to the Christians. The Roman king said, the Roman emperor, he said, I can't deal with this, Yemen is too far, but I will send a message to Najashi. Najashi is the king of the Abyssinians, of Ethiopia, of Habasha, right? And that's a Christian king. A Christian kingdom. What's the time? Huh? 8 o'clock? Alright, I think it's time for ASJA. And we're really getting into it. Alright, subhanAllah, I'll stop there. And after, inshallah, we'll have dinner. We will continue with this. I was hoping next month to start with the actual birth of the Prophet, but we'll finish this off quickly and get right into the birth of the Prophet. Alhamdulillah, I'm getting a chance to finish. Many of the brothers upstairs said I stopped too suddenly, and most don't want to hear it finish. So just a couple more minutes, inshallah. The biggest story is in front of us right now, where we're going to get up to. Right. So we just finished the story of the people who were thrown into the trench, and they were all burnt alive. And one man escaped. One man he escaped, and he went where? To the north. To Sham, to where the Romans were ruling over Jerusalem. And when he got there, he complained to the Roman emperor, and he told him of what? The persecution of the Christians, and what the king had just done to them. Now the Roman emperor said, Yemen is too far for them to deal with. What he will do, he will send a message to Najashi. Najashi means king, who is the king or leader of the people of Habasha, the Abyssinians, right? This is basically Ethiopia today, right? Ethiopia, Somalia, right? And that is very close to Yemen. Just a small little boat ride and you're there. So he said he will send a message to them because that king, that was a Christian kingdom. Right. So now the Abyssinians, what did Najashi do? He organized an army and put a commander to lead the army. His name was Al-Riyad. And he sent this army to seek revenge for the Christians. So now you have Dhu Nawas, right, who is the Jewish king in Yemen. And you have this mighty Christian army coming from Abyssinia to face off, to seek revenge now, to avenge what just happened in the trench. And Al-Riyad, from Ethiopia, from Habasha, they beat the armies, the Jewish armies in Yemen. And Dhu Nawas, after the defeats, the battles, and so on, he committed suicide. It said that he just threw himself into a rushing river, and he died like that. So at this point now, you have the Abyssinian Christians ruling parts of Yemen under Christian leadership. One of Al-Riyad's army generals, he led a revolt against him. Al-Riyad is the commander now in Yemen, right? He's a Christian leader. And one of his commanders, the generals, led a revolt against him. And it split the group in two. It split the army in two. You have the leader of this side, his name is Al-Riyad. And the other side, his name is Abraha. Now, Al-Riyad, he went to Abraha and he said, we need to settle this matter. If we keep fighting and we die, one of us dies, and we will lose the people and everything, what we should do, we should battle. Me and you, we will fight in a sword fight together, and whoever wins, he will be the ruler. Now, Abraha, he was a schemish type of person. He was not, as you can say, very truthful. And what he did, he told his guards, his bodyguards in secret, they said, while we're fighting, if I'm losing the battle, you rush in and you kill Al-Riyad. Right? If I'm losing the battle. They describe Abraha as being a short, chubby man, right? And they describe Al-Riyad as being tall and skinny. Now, I'm not trying to refer to our speakers today, but what ended up happening now, because supposedly the height of Al-Riyad, he ended up bringing the sword down right onto Abraha and cut off his nose. And actually, Abraha got a nickname for this. Abraha, the one with no nose. Right? It's an Arabic word for it. And now when this happened, the bodyguards rushed in and they killed Al-Riyad. So who's left? Abraha has left. So he's automatically the king of all the Christians and ruling lands in Yemen. Now, Abraha, he took over. And Abraha wanted to change the religion of all the people to Christianity. He didn't want anything else. Everyone's got to be Christians. Now, Yemen is part of Arabia. And the Arabs, where do they go? They go to the Kaaba. Even though they're worshipping idols and so on, they go to the Kaaba. So what Abraha wanted to do, he wanted to change that. And he wanted to make something equal to it. And so he built a huge cathedral, and he called it Al-Qulais, right? To compete with the Kaaba. And he wanted people to start coming to Sana'a, right? This is actually the capital city of Yemen today, right? So he built this huge cathedral, and it's described as being very beautiful, very majestic. And one Arab man, he did something very crude, right? Because, there's the Kaaba, and now you have Abraha just built this cathedral to compete with the Kaaba. So one of the worshippers, or that goes to the Kaaba, what he did, like I said, very rude and crude, he went to the cathedral, and he defecated, right? And the cathedral, he smeared it all over the walls, right? SubhanAllah. What is this? And obviously, Abraha, he got furious, right? And the man, after he did this, he fled and ran away. When he found out who it was, he was so angry, he organized an army. He wants to destroy the Kaaba. On the way now, he did, with this massive army, his army has elephants and so on, right? That's like tanks of our time, right? And that's like their main thing. On the way, he met some resistance, right? But nothing that could compare to the army that he had. If I remember correctly, one of the tribes that stood up, the leader, his name was Nauf, and they captured Nauf. The reason why I'm saying this is because it kind of comes into play later on. Nauf became like a prisoner of war, and they ended up reaching to Ta'if. Ta'if, there was a man who was going to aid them to find Mecca. As soon as they left Ta'if, the man died. Their guide died. But they ended up reaching Mecca. They got to the outskirts of Mecca now. There were some camels nearby Mecca, and Abraha's army confiscated everything. They took the camels. So some of these camels, about 200 of them, belonged to Abdul Muttalib. Abdul Muttalib, who is the grandfather of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Abdul Muttalib, he wants to retrieve his camels. So he knows Nauf. He wants to, because you can't just go to speak to the king, the Christian king from Yemen, right? Just like that, right? You need to know someone, have connections. He knew Nauf. And Nauf, yes, he was a prisoner of war, but he somehow became friends with a man named Unais, who was the commander of the elephants. He was in charge of all the elephants, right? So he had high ranks, right? And Nauf kind of became friends with him. So Abdul Muttalib got a message to Nauf. Nauf said, okay, don't worry, I'll get you a sitting with the king, Abraham, right? Through his connection, right? So he got the meeting he could get. So Abdul Muttalib walked in to the presence of the room where the king was, Abraham. And it is described that Abdul Muttalib's presence, he has a very strong presence. When a person sees him, they become very impressed. They feel humbled. Some may feel intimidated by his presence. Now, Abraham, he would sit on a throne. And when people would come, they would speak below him, at his feet. When Abdul Muttalib entered the room, Abraham felt uncomfortable, right? Uncomfortable with this man coming before him. Now he can't tell Abdul Muttalib, come and sit with me, because that's not appropriate. And you can't do the other way around. So what he ended up doing, Abraham, he came down off his throne, he sat down on the carpet, and they sat together and they began to speak. And they had an interpreter. And Abraham said, what does he need? Abdul Muttalib, he said, Abraham has taken possession of 200 of my camels, and I want them back. Abraham said, when I saw you, when you entered the room, I had so much respect for you. But now I have lost all. I am coming to destroy your honor, and the honor of your fathers. I'm coming to destroy the Kaaba, your livelihood, everything. And you're asking me about your camels? Abdul Muttalib, he said, I am the owner of the camels, so I am responsible for them. This house is the house of Allah, and Allah will protect it. Abraham said, give him his camels. Give him his camels. You know? So Abdul Muttalib went back to Mecca and he told everyone not to fight. We need to leave. So everyone, they evacuated Mecca. The last one to leave was Abdul Muttalib. And he was hanging on to the door of the Kaaba. And he was praying to Allah to protect his house. To protect the house. To protect the Kaaba. Now at this point the army was about to mobilize and come to invade Mecca and destroy the Kaaba. But the elephants won't move. Right? The elephants won't move in the direction of the Kaaba. Any other way they will move. There is a narration that it said that Nauf, that same prisoner of war, that he went and whispered into one of the ears of the elephants and said, this is the house of Allah, right? You need to turn back. Now, I mean, no one's saying that it's because of Nauf, right? But Nauf did this, and it's reported he did this. But the elephants refused to move onto the Kaaba. The soldiers, they began poking the elephants with their spears until they started to bleed. The elephants started to bleed. But they had no choice, so what they did, they got off the elephants and they started to walk in. At that point, Allah sent an army on them that no one expected. Allah has actually verse in the Quran where Allah says, no one knows Allah's soldiers but Him. وَلَا يَعْلَمُ جُنُودَ رَبِّكَ إِلَّا هُ. No one knows the soldiers of Allah. It could come from the water, it could be the wind, it could be some kind of animal. Allah sent an army of birds carrying missiles that rained upon them, or stones that rained upon them. And this event was recorded in Surah Al-Fil. It goes, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Have you, O Muhammad, this refers to Muhammad, have you not seen how your Lord dealt with the owners of the elephants? The elephant armies which came from Yemen under the command of ASJA. Did He not make their plots go astray and sent against them birds and flocks that was striking them with stones of Sijil and made them like an empty field of stalks, as if it was like a field of harvest that was eaten up by animals. That's how they appeared. And this is what that surah is referring to, this event. So this is the 10 minutes, I think, that I wanted to take. And these are the events before the birth of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. And the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was born in the year of the elephants. And it's referring to this event that happened. Inshallah, our next topic we'll continue with is, we'll start with the birth of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. We'll continue quickly, though it's about 5 more minutes with the little program we have with the young guys here. And then we'll eat, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.